Hello everybody, you're welcome back again to the Reggae Appreciation Society. It goes without saying that though the youngest, reggae is among the fastest growing and most popular genres of music on Jazz Green Earth. After it swept over Britain in the early 70s, it quickly moved across the four corners of the globe over the rest of that decade, creating vibrant indigenous hubs everywhere it landed. But I dare say that outside of Jamaica, that infectious sound truly found a second home in Hawaii. Don't get me wrong though, there are lots of powerful fanatical fan bases in lots of other places like Japan or Brazil, but I haven't seen anywhere that is intertwined successfully with the local musical traditions. Aesthetically speaking, Jamaican and Hawaiian natural landscapes are almost identical, both lovely islands with a laid-back sunny vibe and rich traditional music culture. Reggae's rapid acceptance in Hawaii felt completely natural when it became the number one sound on that island by far and continues to dominate more than 4 decades after. Its astonishing rise was the sum total of various factors all aligning perfectly, from the massive wave of nationalism and cultural awakening on the islands and the groundbreaking visit of reggae's international ambassador number 1. Just like in Jamaica, it became a vehicle to communicate the very feelings of the masses and grew roots so deep that the island would birth its own indigenous version of reggae that became known as Jawaiian, with the ukulele becoming the powerful medium for the offbeat skank rhythm that's synonymous with reggae. But how did it all begin? This video has been a long time coming, and thanks to long-time viewer Brandon Moreno for reminding me. Let's go back to 1972, when the classic Jamaican movie The Harder They Come, starring Jimmy Cliff, became a worldwide hit that beamed the gritty and colorful imagery of Jamaica to the entire globe. Its awesome soundtrack inadvertently made the entire planet to become curious about reggae and Jamaican culture in general. Its screenings in Hawaiian cinema would also have the same massive effect. In those times, the Hawaiian airwaves were heavily saturated by American pop and rock music that were played on local radio. But the wave of interest sparked by that movie got many youngsters tuning in to US Armed Forces radio to catch some of the few reggae tracks on the playlists. Not to mention, Caribbean American soldiers stationed on bases in Oahu also brought with them cassette tapes of many reggae artists. It wasn't long before reggae stores in places like Honolulu began to import reggae cassettes and records to meet the growing demand by the middle of the 70s. The Hawaiian Islands had a powerful and vibrant music culture of songs and hula dances, all rooted in their Polynesian heritage that went back for centuries, complete with the phenomenon of kanakapilas, which is the indigenous term for the impromptu musical jam sessions where people would gather to play instruments like the ukulele, the Cajun, or steel guitar, wherever the mood would hit, whether on the beach, family gatherings, or an average day in their backyard. By 1975, the fascination with reggae saw many kanakapilas experimenting with reggae rhythms that were similar structurally to their own traditional sound. Like Backyard, they had the same island soul and laid-back vibes. In places like Oahu, while their Rasta counterparts in Jamaica would say Aire or Rastafari, they would say Aloha or Chihu. Those were very interesting times, as it was the peak of the second Hawaiian Renaissance, a season of resurgence of the national identity and a firm rejection of British and American culture, which had been the order of the day since the US annexed those islands in 1898. The native people were determined to promote and reclaim their languages and traditional practices after many decades of suppression, the perfect soil and conditions for roots reggae and its messages of unity, resistance to oppression and neo-colonialism to take root and thrive. By 1976, the musicians playing on the hotel circuit were infusing reggae into their sets while performing for tourists, and eventually it began to get recorded. It's still a hot debate over who was truly the first Hawaiian artist to put reggae music on wax, but we are certain that it was either rock folk group Olomana or a singer called Billy Cowie that was the first to record a reggae song. Olomana had recorded a reggae-centric outro on the 1977 album And So We Are, while Billy Cowie threw down a charming single called Mr. Reggae that was heavily inspired by the Abyssinians Sata Masagana.
I hear music. I hear music, oh, oh, oh.
Whatever the case, that was the year that the floodgates were well and truly open. before the visit of reggae's global ambassador would take everything to a whole new level. In 1979, Bob Marley was at the very peak of his powers, a red-hot global superstar who was riding high on his back-to-back smash hit albums like Kaya and Exodus, playing in front of tens of thousands of ecstatic fans in massive arenas all over Europe and America. His label, Island Records, had decided to introduce his magic in new places and organized a tour of Japan, New Zealand, Australia, and finally Honolulu, Hawaii as the climax. And so it was, on the 5th of May 1979, Bob Marley and the Wailers would throw down a spectacular show at the Waikiki Shell in Honolulu in front of 6,000 streaming fans, and followed it up the next day with another epic concert at Maui with more than 3,000 fans in attendance. When you consider that number was almost 10% of Maui's population back then, you can just imagine the very scale and impact of that show. The cultural effect of that tour was defining on a generational level as far as the indigenous reggae scene was concerned. But while other parts of the world sought to do exactly what was happening in Jamaica, it spawned a hybrid unique to Hawaii that became known later as Jawaiian, a seamless blend of roots reggae and the light and breezy traditional sounds of Hawaii. The first recorded major hit in that subgenre was Guava Jelly by the Peter Moon Band in 1982, a lovely cover of the Wailers' own track from 1971. But if Guava Jelly was the very spark that ignited the Jawaiian movement, a song called Coconut Girl by an artist called Brother Noland solidified it as a bona fide movement. This song wasn't only a commercial super smash when it came out in 1984, but became a cultural phenomenon and was even used on the soundtrack of the 2008 movie Pineapple Express. The 80s would witness a massive explosion of Jawaiian music and saw the rise of superstars like the amazing Brother Walter, born Walter Ipolani, after playing in bands with his brothers and uncles that played strictly traditional music. He got an epiphany when his sister living in New Zealand sent him a tape of Bob Marley's songs that blew his mind and led him to immerse himself in Rasta culture and roots reggae, and he began to play a series of free reggae concerts by 1983, eventually releasing songs like the radical Keep Hawaiian Lands and the dreamy Sweet Lady of Waiahole. He became a sensation on the islands, and when his debut album Hawaiian Reggae came out, it became a major hit that sold more than 100,000 copies, an insane number when you consider the scale. And very soon great groups like the Fabulous Campaigner also sprang up around the same time, founded by Kelly Boy de Lima and the Tongan Brothers in 1984. They had come up through the talent contest circuit and became an enormously successful group that truly marked the commercial viability of Jawaiian as it became a mainstream sound. There are many Hawaiian pioneers that came into their own in that period, but I dare say only one is unanimously regarded and hailed as the godfather of Hawaiian reggae, in the magnificent Butch Helemano. Though born in Hawaii, he lived for a long time in San Francisco, where he immersed himself in what was an exploding reggae scene and returned in the middle of the 70s, playing very deep roots reggae cuts at a time most people on the island had never heard of it. Even when the islands developed its own scene and a massive love for the sound with what was a light-hearted, sunny beach vibe, he was a one-man roots reggae army, addressing conscious topics in his music affecting his homeland, like pollution, their eroding cultural identity, and corruption. By the 1990s, Jawaiian was the most dominant sound in the streets and local radio stations, and all the young upcoming artists aspired to play it. It was the phase of Hawaiian reggae superstars springing up to huge critical and commercial acclaim. One of the biggest stars of all time was the great Israel Kamakami Woole, whose ukulele-powered reggae masterpiece, Over the Rainbow, is, I believe, the biggest Jawaiian song of all time, a multi-platinum record with more than 1.5 billion views on YouTube alone. However, this massive wave of Jawaiian was to the detriment of Hawaii's indigenous sound. It sparked fierce cultural debates from older purists who argued that the island's youth had abandoned their heritage, while the youngsters would push back, insisting that their culture wasn't going away, and the Jawaiian sound was simply a natural evolution of what was a living culture. Putting it mildly, its rise continued to be spectacular, with absolute megastars of Hawaiian descent doing amazing things, selling tons of records and selling out massive arenas on the American mainland, Europe, and Asia. Some of these new guys include powerhouse band Maoli, Kolohe Kai, the super roots band Humble Soul, and the fabulous J Boog. This dude though of Samoan ancestry, came into his own as a product of the Hawaiian scene in 2005. Today, it's still the #1 sound by far in Hawaii that's not just popular with a powerful organic fan base, but now embedded in the very fabric of Hawaiian culture, and is truly the bona fide second home of reggae music. So there you have it. Thank you for watching this video today. Please leave a like, subscribe, and until next time, Jah bless.